years ago, on July 19th, Hanyu held a press conference in Tokyo to announce his decision to turn professional. Does his current image match or differ from what he envisioned back then? I didn't imagine it, or rather, I couldn't imagine it. At the press conference, I was constantly struggling with the fear of whether people would actually watch my performances. Back then, I was constantly worried that people would watch me because I was still active, but not if I turned professional. Because of my fear, I didn't know what I should become or what style of skating I needed to develop to become a skater, whose performances people would continue to watch and look forward to. I remember how scared I was. Going solo changed the perception of a professional figure skater. I's story, which he planned, wrote, starred in, and executive produced, was a huge success, along with Gift, Repray, and Echoes of Life. Tickets are always in high demand, and the arenas are still packed. In that sense, I'm completely different now than I imagined. Or perhaps I'm someone I never imagined. Everyone appreciates my current skating and comes to see me precisely because they want to see my current skating. The opportunity to become such a skater, I think that's the best thing. I think that's exactly what I wanted back then. I'm still far from satisfied with my abilities, and there are many things I haven't yet fully realized but want to express. Nevertheless, people want to see the current Yuzuru Hanyu and eagerly await my new work. It's an honor, a great joy, and a blessing to be a skater who can evoke such feelings even after turning professional. Having taken on the role of executive producer of I's story, he says he gained a multifaceted understanding of Yuzuru Hanyu the skater. What is that understanding like? When I'm directing and choreographing, I feel like a pawn laughs. I feel like I'm outside the process, thinking, this is what this guy should do. I feel pretty much the same way when I'm creating choreography. Of course, I include everything I want to express, and I appreciate the choreography that suddenly comes to me when I hear the music. However, I have to think about choreography that will resonate with the audience, not just for my own enjoyment. When that happens, I start creating from a very detached perspective, thinking, I really need to show this side of him, or this is what's good about him, so I have to make him do it this way. Yuzuru Hanyu. Regarding himself as a pawn, it's fascinating, really, because I can be quite strict with it. Laughs. If I were creating choreography for someone else or producing someone else's ice show, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. But because it's me, I can constantly push myself to the limit. I might try something and find it's completely impossible, but then I can say, I want to show you something like that, so just do it. I think that's also one of the things that pushes me to improve and fuels my desire to grow. I believe people need constraints to grow, and I think for me, these are good constraints. Choreography that touches someone, not just serves as a form of self-gratification, Hanyu said. Does he never create choreography based solely on his feelings and emotions? Hanyu smiled and shook his head quietly. I carefully calculate everything. When I create my choreography, it usually goes through 3 stages. At first, I don't remember the steps at all, so I just improvise. But then I can't rehearse it. I end up doing it so tightly that I can only skate each section separately. You could call it thought out, the most spontaneous choreography. Then I put them together, try to reproduce them, edit them on video, and put it all together. And this is probably familiar to all figure skaters. Canadian public broadcaster CBC presented the program 30 Canadian classical musicians under 30. Pianist Forrest Benson, 18, winner of the senior category of the Future of Excellence Concerto competition, organized by the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra School of Music, expressed his respect for Yuzuru Hanyu. Benson admitted, my main source of inspiration is not a pianist or even a musician, but the figure skater Yuzuru Hanyu. He first saw Hanyu perform in 2018, recalling, when I first saw him perform on YouTube, I was absolutely captivated. He taught me the importance of expression, and that lesson is reflected in my piano playing. Benson plans to begin his studies at the Glenn Gould School, renowned as one of the world's top music schools, but in addition to piano, he also has a deep knowledge of other musical genres. He studies kendo and fencing and is also interested in singing. While acknowledging that my voice may not have the most beautiful timbre or impressive range, he stated, my natural voice moves me most. The pianist, who is deepening her knowledge in various fields, seems to draw inspiration from Hanyu's expressive abilities. Yuzuru Hanyu has always run at full speed. This was true not only after turning professional but throughout his entire competitive career. He ran non-stop for 12 seasons, beginning with his senior debut in 2010. Last August, in his 4th year as a professional, he decided to take a break to recuperate. He has dedicated the last few months to working on his body, studying dance and biomechanics, and expanding his range of expression. This is the first time I've taken a break to recuperate, and I think my body feels renewed. I've run at full speed throughout my competitive career. After the Olympics and since turning professional, through various examinations and checkups on my body, I've truly realized how tightrope I've been walking up until now. I feel like I've managed to get back into good shape after barely hanging on. In that sense, I think the biggest changes in my 4th year of career have been in terms of my physical fitness. At his solo performance Relive in April, in which he also starred and executive produced, he touched on his current situation, saying, "I'm changing rapidly now. Perhaps it's both in my expression and in my skating. There was a period when I couldn't figure skate, and during that time, I worked very hard on my dance practice. Of course, by exploring dance in various ways, I've become familiar with many different forms of expression. Changes have also occurred in his approach to creating his work. Until now, I tended to perceive dance routines, like mass destruction, and figure skating routines as separate entities. But now, instead of thinking, this part should be like this, I've come to the conclusion, all of this together forms a cohesive physical expression. And I think that's where the change in expression lies. After a period of maintenance, I'm rebuilding from scratch, so many things in my body itself are changing, including muscle strength and balance. I feel like I'm in the midst of a massive transformation. The ambition of this athlete, who has won 2 Olympic gold medals, is insatiable. Since becoming a professional figure skater, he has dedicated time to studying various dance genres, constantly trying something new. It's surprising to hear him often realize, "I can't do this." When I watch my own performances, I always think, "I'm so bad." When asked, even now, he answered immediately, of course. I'm constantly thinking, wow, this is bad too. There's just room to grow." He's incredibly competitive. He's capable of endlessly pushing himself to take his skating to the next level. This is his strength as an athlete, and one of the reasons Yuzuru Hanyu attracts people. He's never satisfied with what he's achieved, believing in his potential and forging new paths. I just live my life with various expectations, and I want to live up to them. Every day I think, it would be harder if I couldn't live up to them. I feel like I have no choice but to push myself to the limit. I think if I decide to stop, I'll find that limit very quickly. Hanyu expressed this by drawing parallels between his daily life and figure skating. For example, there are things you can always give up if you think, maybe I don't need to work anymore today, or maybe I don't need to push myself harder today. Right? It's the same with figure skating. It's not something necessary for survival. And I don't do it because someone dictates my schedule. It's more of an extension of a hobby. So, if I wanted, I could set limits for myself. But I think the ability to continue without setting limits, to say to myself, "This is not my limit," is also a form of effort. I want to be that kind of person. I want to be a skater who makes people feel like I'm always valuable. Of course, Yuzuru Hanyu will remain Yuzuru Hanyu in the future. I think this is the only way I can live. No one forced me to live this way, it's just my personality that makes it impossible. I think I just work hard because I don't want to be the kind of person who does anything half-heartedly.